So you're in the Facebook groups. You see that, for every one post that somebody says, I'm able to command these high prices and I'm doing so well, somebody's going to come in there and say, well, that works in your market. It doesn't work in my market. You don't understand my market. My market's cheap. And sometimes that's Tampa. Sometimes it's Miami. Sometimes it's, LA and other parts of the country. But you're in the middle of it. And I feel like you're in one of the most competitive in the country, possibly the most competitive. And I feel like you've risen above that. So I'd love to hear, and I think everybody could benefit from hearing how your process getting into it and how you were able to achieve that.
Well, I'd say the first 6 months, that was a period of time when here I am, I've got this sales process that's new to me and new to all the clients because they're used to this whole, even if there's good, better, and best, they're used to that start good starting at $100 or $140. And for me, this is where it took a lot of true belief that it was going to catch on, or I was going to get the right clients that were going to pay it. Because in the beginning, I didn't have anybody say yes to $180 or $200. So for me to start at that price point, I knew I was above the market, and I guess I just every day I just tried to think of better ways to sell it, and I think that probably the most important thing that I could say about learning how to sell it in the face of somebody that's expecting it to be a lower price is that you have to keep the whole entire conversation positive. I know that there were a lot of times when I was just trying to compare myself and compare what I was doing and compare to the competitor and compare to this, and well, apples for apples, what I'm doing is this, and it's a little confusing for the customer too, and then also too you're bringing up maybe some negatives that they weren't thinking about. And I feel that it is true that not everybody needs to hear the same thing, so it's hard to read that. And I guess I learned a lot of lessons in trying to read that, but I never had a sale. I had people that were like ready to go, $100, and I had nothing. I didn't have anything on the schedule. I was just sitting there by myself in the shop, and a lot of people have that mindset. Oh well, $100 is better than nothing. I mean, what else are you doing? Just
Right.
say yes and take the job. And I think the issue is that once you go down that path, or once you start on that path of $100 or $140, then then you develop a client base of that. They're going to repeat. They're going to send friends. A lot of those clientele use those cars too because they don't maybe have the if they don't have the budget for the higher end tint jobs, maybe they don't have the budget for a garage kept situation. Like those cars suffer. I guess this is kind of an off topic point, but I think just in a lot of ways, I think you expose yourself to more warranties too, because if you do a lot of the really cheap tint jobs, a lot of those cars sit outside in the sun 8 hours, 9 hours a day, every single day. And then when you get into kind of some higher end clientele, a lot of those cars may stay in a parking garage all day or stay in a garage. That's kind of a side point. I digressed there for a minute. I guess
No,
kind
but
of
it's a
back to
good
the
point.
topic.
It's a good point because as you go down that road, there's other intangibles that you might not think about that you're bringing up that are very valid that come along, and then eventually, like you said, shape your clientele, shape your business practices, and just shape your whole state of mind for what you're doing.
I think one of the, I guess, to kind of center back on the charging more is having more value. You're really passionate about what you do. You really care about the quality and the outcome of the window tint job. You want to earn their business, you want to earn their trust, but we want to provide something that people are going to love. Like, and that I think that resonates with a lot of people too. Like, listen, on the other end of the phone here, I'm going to do everything it takes to make sure that tint job comes out perfect for you. I'm not going to let it leave with a flaw. If there is an issue, I'm gonna follow up with you in a couple of days. I'm gonna make sure everything's okay. If you have any questions, I'm gonna answer them. If there's an issue, I want you to come back. I want you to let me know if something's wrong. To have that policy of customer service and maybe mention it in a part of your sales process is helpful. to getting people to pay a little bit more because they appreciate, this he's got maybe a better business, and if I pay him, if I pay a little bit more than the guy in the car wash at $100, he's probably got a more sustainable and more interesting model. And I bet maybe the tint job is going to be better, or maybe he is using a better product. And
Right.
um,
And you don't need to convince everyone. You just need to convince enough people to that keep you busy. But it's not like everyone has to want to pay more. It's just
no,
everyone that comes to you.
That's the point too, is that I get today, every day, I get 2 or 3 people that they're calling around, they're asking for price, that it's only price. It's just unfortunate that they called and I didn't have the $100. I didn't have that option. I mean, there's some people that just they're not my customer because they're only looking at the price, and those customers will always find somebody for less. They'll not care if it's not 100% perfect. The car may not be perfect either, and they may just want, I just want a quick, cheap tint. I can't afford it, or I'm not gonna try to do anything extra special. And you don't have to try to convince all of those people to come in and pay more, because then I think there's a little bit of buyer's remorse, or they feel like you're ripping them off. I'm not sure. There's like a disconnect sometimes, and not to feel bad if people say no, even as many times as I've heard no. I just try to work on that more and more every day. Trying to think of another point, because I keep digressing when I get into the price topic, but as far as building my business in the very beginning, the one thing that I did was go to all the business networking groups and meetings and things that I could possibly go to. I went to one every day. I met as many people in the community as possible, as many business people. And I think, some of that is good and bad. I mean, some of those people are in those groups just to simply promote themselves, and they're not going to give you any kind of referrals. And I think to some extent that's okay, because in the pursuit of trying to get your business, they may give you business too. Sure. So usually the people in the networking groups seem to do business with each other. And they do that also to kind of qualify you and see what your experience is like, and see if it's a fit for their clients to refer. And I think that's something that nobody is doing. When I went to these networking groups, I was the only person talking about window tint. I was by myself. I was completely unique. I was the only one telling that story. So that gave me 2 things. That gave me my kind of initial free customer base that would listen to me every week. And then 2, that gave me a chance to practice presenting what I sell in front of a group of people, and finding more effective ways to explain it and sell it, and getting their questions and feedback. And that also helped me understand, well, I'm not talking about that. I need to talk about that, or so forth. So networking groups really gave me an advantage in the beginning, and the cost was pretty minimal. It's mostly time that required.
Okay.
And stop me anytime.
No, so just to kind of recap, I guess the most important points are the networking groups, and that's kind of a way to get your name out there, a way to actually draw in the business. And then once the business is coming in, correct me but my interpretation was the next step is to work on your sales process and keep fine tuning your sales process, keep it positive, and find ways to really explain the product to the customer, and focus on adding customer value through the customer service. Yeah.
Definitely, because those are things outside of the product. Because at the end of the day, I have come to learn that whatever everybody is selling is the best thing that they could be selling, according to them. This is it. This is the best stuff. We've been using it for 15 years. It's got a triple lifetime warranty. Don't worry about it. Everybody is going to say the same things about the product, or similar things about the product. You may be able to mention a couple of technology things, or other factors about window film, which is more of a generalized statement. You can really lean on branding to some extent, but people, and you know this, and a lot of people know this, that just people are buying from you. They trust you. They trust that, you know, you're going to use a good product and that you're going to stand behind it. And that's far greater value to the client, I think, than the actual the brand of the film itself.